Hey, this is Pam Perry. So we are here with Get Out There, Get Known today. And we have a special guest, and she is with the Washington Informer. So right after this, I will tell you a little bit about her and bring her up.
Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
Hey there. So you know that just about a lot of the times, I'm always talking about the black press, right? And it's been something that you're not surprised about. But today is a publisher that I have the most respect and esteem for is Denise Rolark Barnes and the Washington Informer. And she is a publisher, but she went to a couple of HBCUs. She went to Howard. She went to Hampton, always involved in, she's got her JD degree as well, but always involved what is the cutting edge of news. And so when you really think if you're an author, speaker, coach, entrepreneur, trying to get press, trying to get in the media, you got to know a little bit what they're looking for. So I want you to meet Denise. There she is. Hey,
How are you?
how are you? Good, good. Because I want people to really understand a little bit about your career so they're not afraid of journalists
Right.
and know what it is that makes them tick. So you went to Hampton, you were in communications, went to Howard, graduated from Howard, went on and did another degree, a JD degree as well. But I want people to understand that you're not new to this game. You've always been involved in news, always been involved in communications, especially in the Black community. So I wanted people to know, like, to hear your heart, like, why, because we're in part of NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists. You're friends with Dr. Ben Chavis, so why is, part of NMPA, which is National Newspapers Publishers Association. So why is this something that has been a part of your, I guess you would say, your career over the last 15, 20 years?
No, you're kind.
A,
You
a
are
good minute,
kind.
a good minute. Let's just say
Oh,
that,
it's
a
a
good
good
minute.
minute. I've been adding it up. First of all, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to be with you today and to be on your show. We talked so much about it, and I'm really proud of, you creating this platform to share, and empower people who have a message, who have something to also share with the community at large. And so
Mhm.
that's what inspires me. Just to give you a little bit of background, as you know, my dad started the Washington Informer in 1964. So I
Mhm.
grew up in this business, as I say, it's kind of old school now. I used to say ink runs through my veins, but now it's the internet that runs through my head. I don't know what it is, but anyway, so yeah, I mean, I grew up in the business and I understood watching him and my stepmother and my mother, who were all very engaged and involved not only in the civil rights movement but in the home rule movement here in the District of Columbia. My stepmother served on the city council for 16 years, and my dad started a philanthropic organization called United Black Fund
Oh
10
yeah.
years after he started the Washington Informer. So his whole mission was to create a financial resource for nonprofits. And the theme was meeting unmet needs, because a lot of our smaller Black nonprofits didn't have their 501c3, their
Mhm.
bylaws, all the things that they needed that prohibited them from getting grant money from institutions. We're still having the same challenges, but a lot of us have grown up now. And
Mhm.
so we're learning now how to play that. I don't call it the nonprofit game, but essentially that's what it is, how to get those nonprofit dollars.
Mhm.
So, when I got out of, actually, when I was in school at Hampton and transferred over to Howard, and majored in journalism and had some of the the earliest and greatest Black journalists, as instructors. I don't know if folks might not recognize the names, but Samuel Yad and Wallace
Mhm.
Terry. If you saw the movie Bloods, that movie was based on a book that was written by Wallace Terry, who I took 5 classes from Howard.
Wow.
And I even took a class from who we now call Haki Madhubuti, but he was formerly Donnell Lee,
Mhm.
and so it was a class called Black Thought. And, uh,
Yeah. Oh,
it's amazing. You think you're Black and you think you can think, but then you put the two together and it sort of helps to shape your concept and ideas about nation building, about community.
mhm,
And
mhm.
so went on to Howard Law School. Well, that's the pillar, of Black justice and civil rights and all
Mhm,
that. And so
mhm.
it was good to come through there, but it was there where I really understood the power of media. Became the publisher of the law school, not the editor of the law school newspaper, not the law journal. That was
The
for the
barrister.
kids. That was more the smart law students. I was just, like I say, Denny from the hood, just trying to do my thing. And so, but I was asked to be editor of the barrister.
Mhm,
That's
mhm,
when I realized the power of ownership, um, and managing your own press. And so
mhm.
when I finished there, I told my dad, okay, I'll come back and work for the Informer for a few years,
Wow.
be poor, and then go off and make money. And that was in 1980.
Okay. So
So
it's been a minute. It's
it's
been
been a minute. Yeah. So to answer your question, that's just a little background, but there are so many untold stories, and we see it in film every day now. Fortunately,
mhm, mhm.
Hidden Figures, was it gosh, Red? I want to say Red
Red,
Wing.
um, yeah,
You know what I'm talking
the
about
Tuskegee.
the airmen.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
yeah.
so
Red
many.
tails.
Yeah,
Red
red tails. Thank you. Red tails and uh, some others. I'm
and
having
then Till is coming out too as well. The Emmett Till.
Till. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
and there's another one I was thinking about, but there's so many stories to tell. But
mhm,
those are the stories that make it to film. If we sit back and really look, and we don't even have to look far. We can look at the person may be sitting across from us, the person that comes to our house for Thanksgiving dinner. And or since I mentioned Thanksgiving, because we're about to come up on the holidays, when company comes and people started to tell stories, and you realize the impact that so many of us have had on the communities that we live in, and how do we get those stories told. And
mhm,
while we're not in the book writing business, we are in the newspaper or news business. I
mhm.
should say newspapers, but we still print a newspaper.
Yeah.
It's important for us, to make sure that the history of our community is not lost,
Mhm,
that it's not
mhm.
buried. And so, um, I'm like the fisherman, every morning I get up and I'm looking for stories.
Mhm, mhm.
And sometimes I would have been one of those folks. I am one of those people who think, who cares what I think? Who cares what I do? Who cares what I say? But in your business, folks need to hear from you.
They do.
And you
All
have
the time. All
right, and
the
folks
time.
have great messages, and so it's like, don't be shy. Who's go out there and tell your story and call people like those of us, 200 and some publishers across the country who own black owned who are black owned newspaper who are black newspaper publishers or black
Mhm.
media owners.
And also magazines. There's Black magazines as well. Speakers
Right.
magazine. This is like a niche one. This is just for
Yeah,
Black speakers. This is
that is
just for Black
fantastic.
speakers.
Hmm.
And the thing that I like, you are like a second generation owner of the
Hmm.
Washington Informer. Out of the 200 publishers that are part of the Black publishing newspaper business or news business, how many are there second or maybe third generations at this point, you think, Denise, that you know of?
I know personally of probably about 20.
Wow, I had
Yeah,
no idea it was that many.
yeah, yeah.
Wow, wow.
The
I know one in
challenge
Houston.
Yeah, there's two. Let's see. Yeah, there is one in Houston. Houston Forward Times
Mhm, mhm.
is one. The Dallas Weekly is
Yes.
another. I think there's another one out of Austin. I think they're getting ready to transition now. I think the father is kind of retiring and the son is taking over.
Oh, that's good.
Son or granddaughter, I'm not sure which one. It seems as though the women. I don't. I love my brothers. I really love them, but it's the women that seem to step in.
If they have the bigger vision to kinda change things up a bit and just like
Exactly, exactly.
I think there's one in the East Coast, I wanna say Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania, I'm not sure. But the thing that I like about the Black press, one, it tells our stories, which you all do very, very well. I'm gonna share some of the screens of some of the stories that you share, but also to you collaborate. You
Mhm.
collaborate a lot, and a lot of it comes around the fact that the advertising that is needed to run the organizations, the news organizations, the Black consumer market is $800 billion market, right? And
Mhm.
so we spend money, you all reach that market. And so, in order, if you all come together and really continue to tell that story, you can get more advertisers that will fund the things that you need to do, whether it's automotive companies or gym shoe companies or whatever. That's one of the things. So, tell me a little bit about the Word in Black and how that came about and how that consortium of, I think it's like, was it six of you guys?
It's 10.
10,
Mhm.
10
Mhm.
of you all that are that's really amazing. Not too many businesses will come together like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna share the screen so people can kind of see what I'm talking about a little bit about the Word in Black so that they can know like what is the Word in Black. And I was like one of the ones that initially just loved to jump in on that as well. So I just talking about your staff here.
Mhm.
Let's go back to our page. So this is really, if you all can see this here, this is the Washington Informer online, washingtoninformer.com. But you can see, obviously, being in the DC in this election time, you can see there's a lot of political news and that sort of thing. But also, to you look down here about the other products that you have as well in the sections. So, I wanted you, and also like the print edition. So, tell us a little bit about, I guess you would say, the sections that you have, and then also the other products, the WIN TV, and the other things that you have, the Word in Black.
So if you want to go to wordinblack.com, then you can see the number of the publishers who are part of that. And I am one of those right now. And folks, I have not had anybody to challenge me on this, but I think that you have to go to a new browser, which is Word in Black.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, but to it's interesting how for many years, if you went to a Black household, you see on the wall a picture of Jesus Christ, a picture of Martin Luther King,
Mm-hmm.
and a picture of John F. Kennedy, and maybe Robert Kennedy, right?
Right. Right.
And this summer, I went to Benin, which is in West Africa, a small country near Nigeria, and visited the home of a king there. And I noticed with all the pictures he had on his wall, he had a picture of George Floyd.
Mm.
And I said, "Why do you have this picture of George Floyd on your wall?" He said, "Well, first of all, according to him, they did trace their ancestry to Benin. And if no one knows the name Benin, they certainly know the film The Woman King.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that was based in the Dahomey village in Benin. But, and I just say that to say that following the killing of George Floyd,
Mm-hmm.
dollars poured, into a lot of institutions, and the Black press was one.
Mm-hmm.
And the publisher out of New York, the Amsterdam News, Eleanor Tatum, received a phone call from someone who had some money, and they wanted to support what the Black press was doing. They realized there's this movement now to support local media, and they were trying to figure out what they could do to support the Black press. So she reached out to a national organization called the Local Media Association, and they asked, let's find some of your colleagues that you think might want to work together and
Mm.
collaborate. And
Wow.
we're all NMPA members. Um,
Yes.
we all have known each other. Many of us are second generation publishers,
Hmm. Hmm.
but we had never worked on this level together. So I just happened, I feel very blessed to have been one of those 10 that is a part of this group. There's, like I said, the Amsterdam News, the Washington Informer, the Afro American, which is based in Baltimore and just celebrated its 130th anniversary.
Yes. Yes. Tony
Mhm.
Draper.
Yeah,
Congrats. Congrats.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yes, yes. And the Atlanta Voice and the Michigan Chronicle, um,
Hiram Jackson. Hmm.
Hiram, yeah, the Houston Defender, Sunny
Yeah.
Messiah Giles, like I said, the Dallas Weekly, um, the Sacramento Observer, and the Seattle, um, not the Seattle, oh
The
gosh, I forgot
Portland.
Seattle paper.
Portland News. Is it the Portland?
Seattle, yeah,
Seattle Times.
yeah, I think that's it. But anyway, yeah, Chris Bennett is the publisher of that publication. So, we've been together sort of rocking and rolling for 3 years now. We created Word in Black, which is a platform, one that we all contribute content to.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it, sort of gives it, we contribute content, and then we have been able to hire staff to write content so that we can use some of that content on our own websites. And it's
Oh.
all part of our digital first transition,
Hmm.
because we all have been struggling, to put it kindly, to move from a print first to a digital first media company.
Right.
And it's not easy, especially when your lifeblood is advertising.
Yes.
Right.
That's it. That's it.
And so trying to generate revenue online has been a real challenge for us,
Hmm.
because, they count those numbers, and advertiser where we could maybe get a couple $1,000s for a full page ad online, we may get 200.
Wow.
And so, if you're in, and that's good if you get 200, right? That's not a bad amount for small papers, like small media companies like ours. But you can't sustain a staff.
Hmm.
You can't, grow when your revenue shrinks that much, even though you're reaching many more people,
Hmm.
and people who are not accustomed to spending money for what we've been getting for free on these things for so long, right?
Hmm. But
So
it's behind a paywall because it's good information. It's something that they can't get anywhere.
yeah,
I think it's something. I think it was reasonable. I know it was less than $200 a year in order to get the Word in Black, and I get it. Pretty much. It's can't remember what the cost is, but immediately when people are always saying that they want to support Black media, they want to tell our stories, I always say, then you need to subscribe. That's one
mhm,
of the things. You need to subscribe, you need to read, you need to share, you need to send a letter to the editor, you need to comment on their stories, whatever it is. Or when I saw that you had it, just automatically subscribe to it.
right,
One of the key things about it. And so the Washington Informer has other products as well. The Word in Black is just a consortium that you all are a part of, and that's one of
exactly.
the things. And that's still going strong.
Hmm.
Like you said, you've expanded, but then in terms of what you all are doing, because one of the things you got to learn SEO, right? Not only just learn journalism, learn law. Now I got this whole other search engine optimization thing I got to do. So
Right.
tell us about the broadcast part of what you're doing as well, because I think I want to say Nikichi Taifa said that you all had done some interviews and things like that. So you do that as well.
Right.
So not only got to run the paper, be publish the paper. Now I'm also hosting a online TV show. It's like, oh my God, okay, now what do I do? Now I get do a podcast. It's
I
like
know. I
all
know.
the things.
Well, I call that one. That was our COVID baby, because when COVID came and we couldn't put papers out in the streets. I mean, we could, but there was nobody out in the streets to go get them.
Right.
People didn't want to touch news boxes, and the stores were closed. We couldn't put, the papers in our newsstands in the stores. So we had to, but we were still creating content.
Mm-hmm.
We're still covering stories. So we're like, how do we reach our audience so that we can continue to share, this information? And so we discovered early on, it wasn't StreamYard, but it was another tool that we used, and Zoom. I mean, everybody was Zooming, so we said,
Mhm,
that could work.
mhm,
So yeah, we launched what we call WIN TV, WIN,
mhm,
for Washington Informative News TV, in
mhm.
March of 2020. Was
Wow.
it
Right at the beginning.
1920? Yeah, I think it was, yeah, 2020.
Mhm.
And we broadcast every Friday from noon to 1. And
Wow.
we see one or two extra viewers every week. It's not, we're
Well,
not.
it's just about a commitment, though, Denise. It's a commitment to
Yeah.
do that. To do it, it is a commitment to say, okay, I'm going to now stop what I'm doing out of the busy day, doing all the things because it's not just the news that you're producing. You're also looking at the business side, the administrative side, the sales side, the marketing side. Then to add this other part about TV, finding the guests, booking the guests, that's a whole thing. And so you went to Howard, you have a great communication school, they have their own newspaper and all that. Do you pull a lot of Howard interns to help with a lot, or do you pull people from I want to say it's an area, is it AmeriCorps? I'm not sure. It's another organization that's a nonprofit organization that sends journalists out to work with the community newspapers. Do you all get staffing from that? Because you need staffing. Everybody wants to be in it, but who's going to write all this and edit all this?
So yes, yes, and yes. Yes, we definitely use
How?
interns. We don't have any right now, but we have used interns from Howard. These days you can't use students for free anymore. You have to pay them. So
My
yeah,
internships in communication were always like, you want to do this, you got to.
I
We work for
know, I
free, but
know.
but okay.
I tell you. But anyway, so we do that, and then we have also applied for programs. Google had a program. Who is it? General Motors has a
Okay.
program, Discover the Unexpected, and then Report for America, which is what you were thinking
Yes,
about.
that was it. Report
That's
for America.
So
Yes.
we have been blessed to have some really inspiring, great young writers
Hmm.
to join us from all of those programs. We have actually this one right sitting to my right now, who is Report for America, who's our environmental writer, knocking it
Okay.
out of the park. And we have a health writer as well from Report for America. So
Uh,
yeah, we utilize all the tools and resources and want to give experience. We had a young lady who came to us um, through Report for America last year, and the first or second day she was here, there was a press conference at the White House, and nobody could get there but
mm.
her. Can you imagine?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And
That's the
I
baptism by fire right there. You
I
know what
can't
I'm saying?
remember what the event was, but I know she doesn't has not forgotten. It. Of course, she lost. You lose the whatever the attractiveness once you realize how difficult that assignment can be,
Mhm,
just
mhm,
getting in the door. But yeah, so that's how I grew up in this business, just
mhm,
doing it. And
mhm.
I'll also add that several years ago, because so many people were saying young people don't read newspapers,
Right, right.
and that how could we reach millennials? And I always thought, people, which goes to what you do, people will read publication if they, like my daddy used to say, if they see themselves in it,
Yes.
they can read stories about themselves. And I said, let's try something. Same thing with WinTV. So we created a publication called The Bridge. And now The Bridge is edited and published by my oldest son, and it's a newspaper that's Lafayette, and it's
Okay.
created for and by millennials.
Oh, okay.
It's got a lot of some, before it was mostly entertainment, but people
Mhm,
get older and they
mhm.
start thinking, looking at the world around them and thinking there's some issues we ought to be engaged with. So it comes out monthly,
Okay.
and we have a new issue that comes out today. It's every usually the first no the fourth Thursday of every month, and they also have a website as well.
Okay.
So yeah, so the bridge will be 7 years old in something about March, but it'll be 7 years old in March of next year. And
Mhm.
we keep wondering, should we continue to do it? But it has an audience, print and digital, and
Mhm.
they do events as well. So it's kind of moving us into this new direction of where media, or at least our media, should be going.
Mhm. Mhm. And one of the things too, I wanted to just point out too that you have the video here, but kind of go through because a lot of people, Denise, they're not real familiar with the sections, right? So kind of go it just briefly run through it, like your news, your business, your lifestyle, and where you're pulling stories and what you would like to see in each one. So even if we go down to opinion, if we go to op-ed, just kind of give us what you're looking for in each one. So let's go to the news. Obviously, if you're watching Informer, obviously we're talking about local, but you do some national things. You pull national from The Wire, from NMPA,
We,
or
occasionally, we're probably one of the few, I've discovered, one of the few Black newspapers that creates mostly original content.
wow.
I've considered subscribing to AP in the past, and it's a good resource. It helps you in a crunch, and it can help you to save money. But a lot of times, it's not local. It's not the news that you're trying to, um, the content you're trying to produce about people in the community. In the neighborhoods that we know so well. You kind of have to, get what you can get.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
We do Prince George's County simply because anybody that lived in Washington D.C. or lives in any major metropolitan area, metropolitan city, knows that there was this migration of um, Black middle class folks
mm-hmm.
who moved out of the city, into the suburbs. And Prince George's County at one point, I mean, now it's supposed to be Charles County, but Prince George's County is supposed to have been the second or the first, what was it? Mm,
One of the largest, most
yeah,
affluent. Mm-hmm,
affluent, right? Black affluent counties in the country.
mm-hmm.
So, and we find that about 50% of our readers are in Prince George's County.
Wow.
So that's why we created that section. And so it's still all about community news. It's about, politics. It's about all those sections that you see: business, lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
faith, um,
The faith is under.
entertainment.
Mm-hmm,
Right,
mm-hmm.
right, right.
Faith
So,
and religion. That's really a big part of our community,
mhm,
which you will not find in the typical type of newspaper, because you cover it really, really deep. And so
right.
it looks like
Yeah. Mhm.
Lindia, like this is her beat. So she covers the religion and faith.
So Lindy is actually a columnist. So,
Okay.
that is just her, her words of inspiration that she publishes every week. So,
Okay. Okay. If
yeah,
someone wanted to do a monthly column, I won't say they were weekly, would they then approach you if they want to do something like that?
sure. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what you would do. And we're looking now to, because and I'm not trying to discourage anyone, but what I will say is that, there are people that knock on our doors usually want to write pretty much about either entertainment, you know,
Ah,
you know, it's probably one of the areas that I hear most about: lifestyle, things like that, which you can't get enough of that because, you know, that's good stuff. People like reading about that stuff.
mhm, mhm,
But we're looking now, to expanding. And like I said, Kayla does our environmental justice
mhm.
articles. We wanted to do some articles on technology. We are great consumers of technology.
But we've
We're,
got to, yeah.
we're also pretty good producers and creators. It's
Mm,
just we don't know about it. We don't know what we're doing in those areas. And so to be able to get more stories about, uh, I mean, that's what Hidden Figures is all about. Those people,
mhm,
those women were, scientists.
mhm, mhm,
Who knew?
mhm,
So, there are more stories like that. And these young girls that are coming out of Spelman College and that whole tech, women in tech group, and a whole bunch.
mhm.
So
It
technology
is.
is one. There's a lot of interest right now in transportation. You know, we listen to what's happening with airplanes and electric
And gaming.
cars
And
and
gaming as well. Gaming is a billion-dollar industry. So
right,
people
right.
who are software engineers or people who want to write those type of programs, that is a huge thing. It wasn't like a thing, but it is a billion-dollar industry. So
Right,
now it's like
right.
a career I wouldn't have thought about when I was in school, wasn't around. But now it's like, okay, you want to get into those areas because they're growing so fast. They are growing
Mhm.
extremely, extremely fast. I want people to really go to the Washington Informer to realize it's not just about Washington, but it's about your culture. It's the voice of a community that you will just resonate with. So many people, especially authors or those that are speakers, they want to really, quote unquote, use your platform. But the main thing I just wanted them to hear is that it's not just about, okay, we reach a bunch of people, but you really are trying to tell a story. So if someone has a news angle, something they want to add value to, or they're a thought leader, they have something different that they want to say, an op ed is a great way to say it. Uh, Opinion editorial is a great way to write it. This whole DEI initiative that's going on right now, maybe someone like a Vonda Page may have a different way. She's saying, "Oh, I think you should dump DEI and really talk anti-black."
Mhm.
Because she just has like a really, and so where could a person like that, and that's why your dad started in this, where could a person like that have that opportunity? Where could they share it? And that's why we had the Black press
Right.
started in the 60s, and some of them obviously before, but really it was like, this is a place where we have to tell our story. Like
Mhm.
we see things going on in the community, we just can't just sit back and it's like, oh yeah, that's happening, we have no control. So what I like about the Black press, whether it's newspapers with Black Talk Radio, that's a whole nother thing.
That's right.
Roland Martin with his OTT TV platform, those are the things where we can find our voices and really, we're not monolithic, so it's not like everybody's going to sit, but you can read the Washington Informer and just really get a gauge,
Right.
for what's really going on in our community from the standpoint of the mind. Because you write as well, probably when you feel inspired, you get so much else to do, but probably not all the time, but you write as well, where you see something that is really shaping our community and you're putting those stories out as well.
Well, the one thing I will say, and I maybe there's somebody out there who's written or spoken or whatever that can help me with this. But I think we're all very excited. One thing about print is that it we have publications that we can still put our hands on that are over 100 years old, right?
Yeah.
They're just there. With the internet, um, the thing that scares me is that we don't really control it. And
Mm-hmm.
as someone said the other day, I heard this on the radio. If someone was saying, if Facebook decided, which is kind of doing, is changing its algorithms, it's a way of cutting out voices,
Yeah, we
so
got it.
but we've got to keep bombarding this thing and putting our voices out there and using these tools so that it's more difficult either to silence us or to erase us.
Mhm.
That's what I'm concerned about. Our history and our culture and anything being erased because of the platforms that we use and then and don't control. Um, and how do we take that and archive it someplace? Make sure that it doesn't go anywhere.
Mhm.
Because research is, it may be a good tool. I may be just paranoid. That could be what it is. But I do believe that it's important. I guess the bottom line is important for us not to keep our thoughts. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that. I would say keep our thoughts to ourselves, but sometimes you just need to keep your thoughts to yourself. I don't know,
Put
but
them in
you
a
know
safe,
what I'm saying?
put them in a safe space is what you're saying. Put them in
Yeah,
a safe space.
yeah, yeah. And
That's
don't be. I
Black
mean,
press.
if you've gone through the effort to write a book, if you've gone through the effort to get trained in public speaking, if you've gone through the effort to become somebody that's going to contribute to society, don't hide your gift.
Mm, yeah.
Share it. Just share it and share it with there's so many of us out there that are looking for you. So
Mhm. I love that. I love that. And so when you are sharing it, knowing the publication, knowing what they stand for, knowing their values, knowing some of the staff, knowing the stories that they've covered. There's nothing worse for a reporter to get something, pitching them a story or something that they just covered like yesterday. You know, it's
Right.
like pay attention, do some research, do some work to that. So that could be the main thing. So Denise, thank you so much. I know I held you about 5 minutes over, but I want to just make sure that we go through all the things that you're doing, the Win TV, all the things that you're doing. So I want people to go to Washington Informer and just really pay attention to all the things that you're doing, because you're growing and it's changing. And so
Oh,
I
yeah.
really
Yeah.
appreciate it. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, and best wishes to you as well.
All righty. Take care. All
Okay.
right. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. That was Denise with the Washington Informer. Just love her, love her. Make sure that you go on and subscribe, download, share, tweet, comment. It's there for you. It's your paper, okay? It's the Black Press. It is your paper. So with that, I am Pam Perry, and I am out.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com, where you help you shine like a superstar.